Welcome to Not in a Huff with Jackson Huff, where we interview newsmakers, storytellers, and all-around interesting people. Sit back, relax, unless you're driving, and enjoy the show. Here's Jackson.
Hello. I am Jackson Huff. This is Not in a Huff. Thanks so much for joining me. As always, really appreciate it. This week I'm interviewing comedian Soo Ra. Now, she's got such an interesting story. I've interviewed comedians before. Always really enjoy that. Soo Ra, I saw her at the same comedy club as I saw Todd McComas, which is another guy I had on who's a comedian. And just her backstory. Obviously, when people give their comedy, a lot of them, you can hear just a little bit about them within that comedy. And I was fascinated to hear a little bit more about that beyond the jokes. So Soo Ra, which is part of her actual name, we'll get into that. She was actually born in South Korea. She was given up for adoption. She was actually left at a police station. She had a hand difference, a hand deformity that I think made her potentially be put up for adoption. She doesn't really know. We're going to go into all that. But she was adopted by a white family here in the United States. We're going to talk about growing up in Michigan as someone who is of Asian descent, what that was kind of like. Obviously identifying as well, I don't know about identifying, but growing up in a white culture and being Asian. Interesting for sure. Definitely makes for some interesting comedy if nothing else. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about what got her into comedy. We're going to talk about her other job. She's still doing another job as well. But I was so fascinated to hear her story. Definitely a funny person. Now, of course, I got to tell you, with any comedian, of course, there's a little bit of extra language here than normal in these podcasts. And then also you've got to take some of the things she says, as comedy. So don't get offended. There's nothing too much in here. She's definitely not the type of comic that's just saying a bunch of vulgar stuff. But bear with us on just a little bit of vulgar language, and then a little bit of things that I guess if we're being too soft about things, don't get offended. That's all I'm saying. And I think you're going to really enjoy this one. Without further ado, here is Soo Ra. I'm here today with Soo Ra. Soo Ra, how are you?
I'm great, Jackson. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for agreeing to join me. Appreciate it very much. If you would, let's just kind of put you on the spot right away. Introduce yourself.
All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Soo Ra. I'm a New York City-based comedian. Got my start in Miami, originally from Michigan. What's up? Go Blue. And now I'm currently performing this weekend in Dayton, Ohio. So boo, Ohio State.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you can see behind you. I'm in Indiana, so I'm not really a big Michigan fan. So I'm just gonna ignore that you said that, but that's all right.
You're gonna edit that shit out. Okay, got it.
No, it'll stay. Yeah, I'm always kind of fascinated by people's names. I've interviewed hundreds of people now, and when I get a kind of an interesting name, I like to just stop at that. The thing that I wonder, so is this a stage name? Second, is your first name Sue? Is it a last name Ra situation, or what's going on with Soo Ra?
Everybody always gets that confused. So Soo Ra is my middle name. It's my legal middle name. It's on my license. It's on my birth certificate. It's really a name. It is 2 words, so that kind of throws people off. SOO space RA. And I use it because, well, it's a lot more catchy than my government name, and it's a lot quicker to fill out when you're doing forms. So I kind of do use Ra as my last name when I'm filling out, non-official forms, just because, what's better than a 2-letter last name than Ra? So it's my stage name, but I also go by it like amongst friends, and family is catching on. They still know me by my real name, quote, my real name, which is Adrian. But Adrian was just a little bit too long for comedy, but it started when I was working at the steakhouse and there was already an Adrian that worked there. I worked at the steakhouse in Miami, and I guess Adrian's a very popular Latino name, which I didn't know. So I was like, you know what? Let me just go buy something different. And boom, Soo Ra was reborn.
Well, I feel like it works because in your stand-up, obviously you talk a little bit about being Korean, but being adopted by a white family. It would be a little interesting to have that comedy and be Adrian Jones or something like that. So I feel like Soo Ra works pretty well. And it just, I don't know, it sounds weird to say. I'm going to sound like a weirdo right to start, but it just rolls off the tongue good. We talked a few months ago about doing this interview, and for like a week afterwards, I just kept saying Soo Ra, Soo Ra. I just couldn't quit saying it.
It's literally a chant. Like that's what the Marines say. They say hoorah, but like Soo Ra, it's kind of like, I don't know, people say it, they have fun saying it. So I figured, that'd be good for comedy, right? But yeah, Soo Ra, hoorah for Soo Ra is my Instagram name. People will just automatically say that. So I'm like, all right, there we go.
I like it.
Stick with it.
Yeah, and I saw there's not many YouTube clips of you, but I saw one. They kept saying Sora, and they were saying Hora for Sora. I'm like, what the how the hell are you saying Sora? Does people mess it up very often? There's only a few letters here.
Oh yeah, all the time. They'll say, they'll that was on the Kill Tony podcast, and I was kind of newer in the comedy game, and I was like, I don't know if I should correct them, but nah, it's Soo Ra, bitch, say it again. But yeah, people do mess it up all the time. They'll say Soo Ray. I'm like, where'd you get the E from? I don't know. But yeah, people will find a way to mess up pretty much any name. So especially one that they haven't seen before.
Yeah, and I went and looked at that. Would you say Kill Tony? I went and looked at that, and then I kind of just went down the rabbit hole and looked at a bunch of different things that they've done. I could never be a comedian. That is brutal. You basically talk for a few minutes and then they just tear everybody apart. Is that, how nerve-wracking is that to do something like that?
I mean, that's just their thing. Like that's how they got their clout. They are known for kind of just, I guess, in retrospect, they were pretty nice to me rather than butchering my name. So yeah, I didn't know what I was getting into when I did that podcast. I just heard, hey, they're filming a live podcast upstairs. This was back when they were at the Comedy Store, and I was doing a mic downstairs, and I ran up real quick right after my set, and all of a sudden my name was being called. I was like, oh, okay, shit. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know, how famous, quote, famous they were. I was just, all right, cool. It's another chance to get on stage. And then people still like bring up that tape, referencing this moment right now.
Well, it's frankly because when I'm trying to research you, that's the only thing I could find on YouTube. So that's our material. That's why we keep bringing it up.
Okay. Yeah. Well, most of my stuff I put on Instagram, and now I'm getting on TikTok. YouTube, I guess I just felt like I got on too late in the game. I mean, there's some stuff on YouTube, but it's mostly on other people's channels. Like I have some stuff, that I do with BuzzFeed and World Star, if anybody any of your listeners know what World Star is. But yeah, some stuff like that, Fusion TV or whatever.
No, I mean, I feel like it's kind of, I've interviewed other comics, and it's relatively common not to have a ton on YouTube because you're not trying to give away half of your material before people get there. So I understand that for sure. I mean, let's kind of talk about, I don't want to do no deep psychological dive, but just your story growing up. And then because it kind of is in your act, obviously you have an interesting background, which always makes for good comedy, but talk a little bit about that, if you would.
Yeah, sure. Maybe I'll find my real birth parents on this podcast. You never know. You might have some listeners in Korea, or I do have a sibling in.
I do have a good Asian following because I've interviewed several people just out of chance from the Philippines, and they jump on things. So if they wound up going to the Philippines, we very well may find them.
Well, shit. Yeah. So I was born in 19. Okay, never mind. But yeah. I was put up for adoption. I'm one of those South Korean babies that was abandoned back in the day. There's a lot of us. So shit, if anybody's listening and wants to take a blood test that's got some South Korean, blood, I might find my twin, man. I saw that one, I think it was a documentary about two Korean girls. They ended up being twins that found each other by doing a video. So, I mean, I know this is a podcast, but if you're listening and you want to take a blood test, let's go.
There you go.
But yeah, I was adopted. And my parents, they found me and they said okay, and here I am. I don't know how far back you want to go and how much detail you want to get into, but yeah, in my act I talk about, I was left outside of a police station, because I think we have a similar law in the US. You can kind of just leave a baby there, and shit, I said, okay, at least it wasn't the dumpster, like they left me, somebody cared enough to put me in a place that I'd be found. And yeah, my parents wanted to adopt another baby. They already had my brother, so they were like, all right, we'll get this cute little girl. And here I came. I came to America. I grew up in Michigan and grew up in a very white, suburban, wholesome neighborhood.
Yeah, you said that it's really was common at the time, which why was that the case? I guess I don't know South Korean history 20, 30 years ago, but this isn't North Korea, it's South Korea. So I'm just wondering why were so many babies being put up at that time, if that's what you're saying.
Shoot, I think they're still being put up. It's just kind of the culture from what I gather. Like, it's very hush hush if there's a baby born out of wedlock, a lot of, just shame involved if you are pregnant without being married first. So I probably was like, a teenage pregnancy, I'm guessing, something like that. But I mean, what I do know is my birth mom was beautiful because, like, look at me. I was just kidding. But yeah, and then also, there's other reasons, like if we're going more factual here, like having a baby with a deformity too. Like, I have missing fingers, so maybe I was put up for adoption because I couldn't afford the surgery. And girls also are kind of seen like not ideal back in the day. They would rather prefer to have boys. So that's what I've been told. That's what I've read up on. But shit, it's anybody's guess, Maybe I was just a bad baby, so she put me outside the police station. They try to, straighten me out. Who knows?
Who knows? You said they couldn't afford surgery. Did you have surgeries as a kid because of your fingers?
Yeah, believe it or not, Jackson, what I had done on my fingers was called plastic surgery. So I can't say I'm all natural, but yeah, I had surgery because my fingers were like looking like a duck when I was born. They were all like webbed together. And, it's kind of hard to be a duck as a human. So my parents here, that was one of the first things I did when I came to America. First I got my hand surgery, and then I'm like, all right, I think we'll make her a citizen now. So boom.
Boom. Like that. So growing up, obviously you were basically raised in a white household, a white culture. I guess what was that like? Because I feel like it probably wasn't so weird for you because that's all that you really knew. But did you deal with people all these years kind of expecting you to be something that you're not? Obviously, you look Asian, but I feel like you kind of are more white in culture. So what's that been like?
Yeah, Jackson, I always say like I'm like a California sushi roll. Like I look very exotic, but shit, I'm just imitation crab, right? But yeah, of course, Asian stereotypes are still following me to this day. People want to say, oh, where are you from? Oh yeah, you're from Korea. Cool. My friend's from Thailand. Like, good story. I like Thai food, but that's about it. That's all I can go from there. But yeah, I mean, people are just curious and they don't really know how to express their curiosity. So I think it comes out a lot of times in whatever the hell they saw on TV or TV show, because unfortunately Asians weren't really represented well or at all much in the media besides the stereotypical roles like, Jackie Chan or, the Asian geisha or, whatever TV role that was stereotypical. So if you didn't grow up around Asian people, that's all you knew. And I didn't really like identify with many quote Asian cultural things except for, ironically, even though being my parents being white and having missing fingers, they still threw me into violin. I was like, what's that all about, guys? Like, I think soccer would have been a better choice, but shit. So they still put me into violin, I guess thinking I had something, just a natural ability, a natural innate Asian ability. My dad claims that I asked to play the violin, but I started when I was 3, so I could hardly really talk. So I think that's a lie. So,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, and then other than that, like my parents never really put me into like anything like Korean cultural class or anything like that. The only other Korean reference I had growing up was, ironically, my grandpa's dry cleaner was Korean. So they would be like, wow, you need to go see Mrs. Moon. You need to hang out with Mrs. Moon and learn more about your culture. So she was very nice. She would take me under her wing. She would give me her kids' old, Korean dresses. So that's where the most influence I had from the Korean culture. Yeah, but I don't think I knew how to eat Korean barbecue until I was like an adult. Like I didn't know, like my black friend who lived in Korea was teaching me how to eat Korean barbecue. I was like, what the hell is this? Is this a soup? Like why are there so many little dishes? Like what am I supposed to do with all these little dishes? So I didn't know. I thought it was pretty cool though. It was like a all you can eat buffet, like right brought to your table and shit. And then you just kind of have a cookout right there. And I figured out I was doing a lot of it wrong when the old Asian lady, she comes up and cuts your meat with scissors and she starts cooking that shit. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm not doing it right because she's showing me like, no, this is how you do it. But yeah, like a lot of the times when we would go out when I studied abroad in Korea, I studied abroad in Korea when I was in college. And I was one of the only Korean people on my trip that didn't already live in Korea. So when we go out to eat, the waitress would look at me and start speaking in Korean. I just looked just as clueless. I was one of the only ones that didn't sign up for Korean language. So then like my Swedish friend from Europe was taking a little Korean and she would start talking and she would just look at me like, okay, well, that was worthless. But yeah.
So what was I mean, how is I guess, Asian culture how has it been when it comes to dealing with you not, I guess, conforming? And the only reason I asked that is because I had a secretary several years ago who was Hispanic. Her family was from Mexico. And sometimes I would have people come in my office, start talking Spanish to her, which she didn't speak Spanish. And a lot of times they would get so upset with her just because she looks, Mexican, because she is, but she didn't speak Spanish. So do you have a lot of Asian people just get angry at you because you can't speak Korean?
I mean, I'll never know because I don't understand what they're saying to me after they walk away, but they do sound a little disgruntled. Like I've had a few people come up to me on the street in New York and, start asking me questions or saying something. I don't know. Some lady came up to me on the train and I think she was really happy to see me. She said some stuff and then I was like, I don't know. And she just looked a little bit, disappointed, like a grandma that just, she was sad, but she could have been telling me she was my grandma and I would never know.
Yeah, that's one reason maybe you should learn Korean, just so maybe you can finally find this family, right?
I don't know. I've tried the Duolingo and that stuff just looked like all just different types of shapes. I don't know. I think I'm just gonna try to do Spanish first before I even attempt to do Korean because I don't think it's really in the cards for me to learn Korean.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, believe it or not, I didn't have you on just to make you talk about Korean for 30, 40 minutes. So let's talk about what, what made you first interested in comedy? Because there's a lot of people that are funny, but that doesn't mean they're actually going to be very good at stand-up. I think that's a huge thing that every funny person thinks they're going to be good and then they go up and bomb. So what made you first interested?
Wow. You know what? I think the first tickle I got was I was in a sorority in college, and we did this competition with a fraternity called Miss Miami. Not the one in Florida, the one in Ohio. Go
Mm.
Red Hawks.
Yeah.
And I was the one who represented our sorority for the Miss Miami competition.
Mm.
And, it was kind of like a quote beauty pageant. We would do a talent, we would do a Q&A, we would do, I think it was just, what was the third portion? Like, you wear a nice dress, whatever. And every girl that participated in this took it pretty seriously, but I'm like, nah, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to wear a flamenco dress. I'm going to do a rap for my talent. And I'm
Mm.
not a rapper at all, but it was just like more like a rhythmic poem. And then yeah, the Q&A, I just had fun with it. And so that was the first time I like made a huge room of people laugh. I'm like, that was kind of cute. That was kind of nice. I like the way that made me feel inside. So I kind of kept that in the back of my head. I did also the sorority recruitment sketches. We did like, this was back when America's Next Top Model was popping. So, I was like Tyra. So there was a lot of room for improv in this sketch. I think they made me Tyra because I was like the darkest one in my sorority. But
Mm.
anyway, so I did that and I had so much fun with that. And I always kind of kept it in the back of my head, but it wasn't until I moved to Miami, Florida, and I was working at this steakhouse, and I would always make my coworkers laugh. I would low key roast everybody that came in. It was a very fancy, rich steakhouse. So we would get these, entitled people who came in and was like, "Where's my table?" And clearly bringing in their side chicks, and just you would just see everything at this place.
Mm.
So I was like, you know what? My manager was like, you know what, Soo Ra, we need to get you on stage. So there was another waiter there that had tried open mics at the Miami Improv, and I signed up, brought my 10 people. It was a bringer show. You had to bring your 10 people, which is amazing that I had 10 friends at that time that actually came out and bought the 2 drink minimum and everything. Shout out to those people.
Mm.
And yeah, I had the most fun with it. I think I went over my time. Like the first time I went, because I didn't know about the light. Nobody told me about the light. And but it was the biggest high I've ever had in my life. And I think I'm forever chasing that high.
Mm.
Like I've never done heroin, but I feel like if I did, that's probably close to how it would feel. It's just like my heart's beating super fast, my palms are sweaty, and I'm just talking a mile a minute, but like, woo. So yeah, that's how it all began.
I like it. Well, let's just hope you stick with thinking that's how it feels and you never make sure that's how it feels, because that wouldn't be good at all. But I guess I want to know, because that's not necessarily a normal story, because that's normally the story of somebody who then goes, they're funny around their friends, and then they go and don't do so well. So were you able to, without, it doesn't sound like you had any kind of like training. You didn't go to like a improv school or any kind of comedy training. How did you know already kind of how to set up those jokes to make it good? Or what are you telling me? Maybe it wasn't good and you just felt real good about it when you were up there?
I think the best thing that I was told to do, and I, maybe took it a little bit too much to heart the first time, was I told the truth. I told my truth, right?
Mm.
I actually talked about like my fingers, I think, during one of my sets. And, it's a little bit different. Not everybody's got, how many do I got? 7.5 fingers.
Mm.
So, that was a little bit like different, because nobody can really speak on that. So ever since then, just kind of talking about stuff that like I know happened to me, like it's the truth. So, maybe stretch it a little bit here and there. But
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was kind of the gist of it. And then from there, instead of just rambling about that stuff, I just learned to cut it up and chop it a little quicker and shorter. So that, I think, is the key. If you're looking, if anybody's listening, trying to get into comedy, that would be my advice. Cut out all the bullshit.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing it? I know that video I watched, you said was kind of early in your career, and that was 2016, I think. So How long have you been at it?
I've been at it for 9 years.
9 years.
Yeah. So what year is it? Yeah, someone else did the
2022.
math. Remember, I'm
Yeah.
not really that Asian. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I guess you're 9 years in, so you're experienced at this point. What's been some of the best and worst parts of, I guess, being a comedian?
Shoot, the worst parts, man. The worst parts. Oh, just I guess, yeah, trying to stay motivated, Sometimes
Mm.
sometimes you have a bad set and you're like, wow, what the hell am I doing? I'm still bombing at 9 years in. Oh no, this ain't good. This ain't good. But everybody bombs. It might not, the definition of bombing might be a little bit different when you get more seasoned, like when you bomb. They might still be laughing, but it feels like a bomb because you left some shit on the table.
Mm.
But yeah, that's got to be one thing. And then, but the best part, man, is just like those little glimmers of hope you get when you kill. So it sounds so stereotypical, but the best part is killing, the worst part is bombing. But yeah, man. And I mean, comedy's cool. It feel like it kind of helps you in almost any situation you run into. Nowadays, like, you could take your comedy anywhere, right? Yeah. But
Yeah. Yeah. Is this something that you do? Is this full time, or are you still doing the flight attendant thing? Because very recently I saw you like up in the overhead compartment in a photo. So I don't know whether that's still something you're doing or not.
if HR is listening, I was just cleaning the bin. All right. I was just had to get a hands-on approach. But yeah, no, I still do both. They go together very well. I always like say like work is sponsoring my comedy tour. They just don't know about it.
Mm.
But yeah, no, they go together very well. It gives me enough flexibility to do comedy, and man, it's catching up. Like, they're both pretty much even right now. Doing comedy half the month and flight attending the other half of the month. So just trying to keep the flight benefits, because I love to travel and, see family, and also come out and do gigs out of town. So right now, I think I already said I'm a date in. So luckily I was able to fly out here and do this gig, which, a lot of the times these smaller clubs, they'll use locals because, they don't have the budget, which is normal, to fly a feature out. But because, I got a little perk, yeah, I definitely take advantage. Everybody takes advantage of their perks at work, I hope.
Mm.
What else are you working for? And so, yeah, come out here and, do a little feature spot, and gets me more time on stage than it would in New York, at least in one consecutive chunk. Like, in New York, spots are usually maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But here, on the road, you can do as a feature 25 to 30. So, yeah, it's been cool like that.
For sure. And I hope that because this is another time where people always think that they're funnier than they are. So I'm hoping you use this opportunity to actually be the one on the microphone in the beginning, because there's so many people. I've been on so many flights where the person doing it is trying desperately to make jokes and it's awful. Are you the person that's doing it? I hope you're not. I hope you are.
I am so boring at work.
Uh,
I am so boring on the flight attendant job. Nah, I just I do my announcements, like, I don't want to, for one thing, I'm a pretty by the book person when it comes to the flight attending thing, just cuz I don't want to mess nothing up there. I don't want to offend nobody because, man, it's so PC culture right now. Like,
mm.
yeah, I got to keep it PC all the way. But yeah, no, like, maybe individually with the passengers, I'll get quirky, but on the mic, man, I gotta keep it. Every now and then I'll give someone like a birthday shout out, or if it's one of our pilots last day, I'll give him a little thing and make people giggle, every now and then. But yeah, I don't work for Southwest. They're usually the comics on the stage in the air. So yeah. But
I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed.
all
So
right, when
how?
you're on my flight, I'll make sure to give you. I'll give you the best I got.
Oh, there
I'll
you
do.
go. I guess the question I would have too, just to kind of understand how this comedy thing works. One is going to be a little bit about your set? Because you said that in New York you get 10 minutes sometimes because of the lineup. Dayton, places like that, you're able to do a little bit longer. How often are you somebody who's constantly putting new material in, trying new things, or is it something like I'm going to run with this set for 6 months and then start doing new things? What is it? What do you do here?
Yeah, I think there's a time and place for everything. Like, if I know it's a certain type of show, I gotta just do the material I know, quote, kills.
Mm.
But if, it's a bar show or just, the stakes are lower in some of the shows that you do, yeah, you kind of sneak in the new stuff in between and hope that they don't notice and they still laugh. So yeah, I mean, I kind of just gotta sneak it in there. And then every now and then it's just like if it's just the show's practically a mic, yeah, I'll just try all new shit because I don't care if I bomb, it's not, doesn't mean nothing.
Mm.
But yeah, it's hard. It's hard to do new stuff, but how else we gonna build, right? So yeah.
Go. So if people do see you on a bill, it sounds like you kind of you get all over the place. What can they expect? How do you define your comedy?
How do I define my comedy? Man, I guess I would just say, it's like a autobiography with a tickle. I mean, yeah, I have some observational material in there, but most of it just stems from stuff from my life, and then hopefully people can somehow relate in whatever aspect. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess hopefully my comedy, I would describe it as funny. Like that's the goal right there. But yeah, so
Gotcha. Well, that last part's pretty important. So I'm glad that that's a part of it. Another thing, just kind of looking at your Instagram, what are these dating and comedy shows? Are you like telling jokes and going out with the person that laughs the most, or what's happening here?
yeah, just something that was kind of born out of like need to be different in New York. You can't just, I mean, you can, but just another run of the mill comedy show. There's hundreds of shows in New York all the time. So I was like, you know what? There are a lot of single people in New York. Like I have a lot of single friends. And I was like, you know what? I think comedy and dating are a funny combination. Let's see what we can do here. So yeah, I started it about 3 months ago, and found a venue, Bar 13 near Union Square. Great location. And now we have a sponsor, Filter Off dating app, that
Mm,
came on board and provides free beer.
mm,
So, shit, how can you say no to free beer, right? So we got free beer, and yeah, I get about 6 comics every month that are single, and they come on my show. They kind of treat it like almost an introduction if you were on The Bachelorette, like, or Bachelor. Like, tell us who you are, your age, where you're from, something funny about you, and then maybe they'll do a couple jokes here and there about dating or what have you. And then they'll go on a live date on stage with a random audience member
mm.
that the audience member put their name in the bucket, and whoever we choose gets to come on stage to have a 2-minute speed date in front of the entire audience, and shit gets wild. Like last month we had two girls kissing, we had a dance off, like yeah, we had some things happen. So it's fun, it's a lot of fun, and it's something different. The comics get to work on their improv, and shit, maybe even find somebody. And then also if they don't want to go on a date with the comedian, the audience member has the choice to just pick another name from the bucket. So
Mm.
it's more just, like a singles meetup, but with a fun, like not a cheesy icebreaker, hopefully, something cool, like different, like a little comedy. And yeah. And the free beer helps loosen people up. So it's a good time. Do it if anybody's listening that's in New York, I don't know if you're going to get this out, but we do it every second Sunday.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can follow my page for wherever we put the ticket link and stuff. And yeah, boom, there you go.
That's really really cool. I like the idea for sure. And you said that's only been going on for 3 months, so obviously you don't have any marriages yet. But has anything came of it for any of these people that you know of?
I mean, I definitely have seen some numbers exchange, so I guess I gotta follow up. But hey, if you go out for a whole month in New York, that you're practically married. Like that shit
Uh,
is long-term commitment in New York. So especially if you live in different boroughs, that's like, yeah, that's long distance relationship right there. But yeah, that would be funny to follow the couples. Like maybe we should intertwine that in our next aspect. If they really hit it off on stage, invite them back next month to see if anything came of it. But
Yeah, you should. I
yeah.
feel like, in those old dating shows, I think that kind of the most interesting thing is when they did have people back and like, how was the second date or blah, blah, blah. So yeah, it's something to consider for sure. So I want to ask you too. We just talked about kind of an interesting concept for how you do comedy or the events that you do. Have you ever done comedy in a strange place? Obviously, some of these comedy clubs are weird just in themselves, but have you ever had to do comedy like on the back of a trailer as it's moving or something crazy?
Yeah. Well, I think the craziest place I've done comedy was at Rikers Prison.
Oh, that is
So
crazy.
yeah, it was quite the experience, man. You're just trying to make a bunch of inmates that shit. You don't know why they're there. You're told not to ask why they're there. If they're guilty, nothing. Don't make eye contact, just do your jokes. So it was a pretty cool experience. I guess they treat the inmates who were, quote, well behaved for inmates. They treat them to a comedy show. So I got to be a part of it. And it's like in their little gym. I'm like, shit, they got a gym. My school didn't even have a gym. Like, this is nice, you know? And there was only about 15 inmates. They were women. So we're performing for these 15 inmates, and, like, they're laughing, and I was surprised because I don't know when's the last time they've been outside. Like, I don't know what's funny to them, but they loved it. They were a great audience. And then at the end of the show, we were told, oh, by the way, these were high profile inmates. They were pretty much, your killers. I was like, oh shit, I just made a bunch of murderers laugh. Damn. I guess I'm not scared to do any show now. Like, yeah, man. So that was probably take the cake.
I would say so. I didn't expect it to be that interesting. So I like that a lot. Did you even mention, where you're at or the prison thing at all? Or did you just give your regular set and just act like it was any other audience?
Shoot, did I do any? You know what? I tried to do some crowd work. But yeah, you can't really roast people there because apparently the culture is if other people laugh or don't laugh, like if they don't laugh, you're roasting the wrong person, because then that means that person has like, some like clout at the jail, and they'll get their ass beat later for laughing at them.
Yeah, well that's dangerous. Don't have somebody laugh at the wrong person, then they get beat up later. Then Soo Ra is literally responsible for a prison beating.
But yeah, I think I did mention, yeah, being in jail. I can't remember exactly what I said, but yeah, something about maybe being in a nice this is a nice gated community or some shit like that.
Yeah, I like it. I think that's really, really cool. So yeah, how can people find you? They're listening to this. They want to hear more about Soo Ra.
I hope so, y'all. Find me at Hoorah for Soo Ra, HOORA, the number 4, SOORA on all platforms. Yeah.
I like it. And if I feel like now I'm giving you an interview question, literally like a job interview question. But if we do this again in 5 years, what's your goal? Is this something that you want to transition into full time? Are you more like, you know what, this flight attendant thing, I'm just going with that. Forget this comedy nonsense. Where are we at in 5 years?
5 years, hopefully instead of flying commercial, I'll be on private jets. There's a goal right there, But yeah, man, I hope so. I hope I'm headlining more shows then. I'm starting to a little bit, but I hope I'm, a seasoned headliner by then. And yeah, and then next time, you won't just only find a Kill Tony YouTube. You'll see my Comedy Central, my Netflix. So there, we'll put that out in the universe.
I love it. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Jackson. This has been fun, and best of luck to your podcast. Appreciate you having me on.
So that was Soo Ra. Really, really enjoyed speaking with her. another week of hopefully you could get through listening to my voice. I did not want to mention it ahead of time, and that way you focus on it, but this was a few weeks ago, maybe about a month ago that I recorded this interview. I had a cold. My voice did not sound super, super great. It wasn't terrible, but it's still annoying to listen to on editing. So hopefully you were able to kind of get past that and listen to the interesting story that Soo Ra had. Definitely learned a lot about just, adoption. Learned a lot about the world of comedy, getting into comedy, how people start out, even a little bit about being a flight attendant. This was just a fun interview. I really, really enjoyed it. Comedians are an interesting group to speak with, just because obviously I want to make sure they can be in an environment where they can give their jokes a little bit, but I also want to ask questions that are serious. So I really, really appreciate Soo Ra and being as candid as she was. I know that that's not always the podcast that they're doing. So I really, really do appreciate that. Hopefully you're able to take the fun parts and the more serious parts and really enjoy the conversation. Definitely go check her out. Hoorah for Soo Ra. All the links will be in the description. Check us out too if you're not already following us on Facebook and Instagram. On Facebook, Not Enough with Jackson Huff. Go like that page. On Instagram, go follow Not Enough Podcast. Go give us a 5-star review on Spotify and on Apple. Really appreciate that. Leave a written review on Apple. Even more awesome. But I really appreciate you being here. Next week, amazing guest. Don't want to miss that one. But until then, take it away, Chris.
This has been Not in a Huff with Jackson Huff. Thank you for listening. Be sure to join us next time, where we will interview another amazing guest who is sure to make you laugh or make you think. Or, hey, maybe even both. But until then, keep being awesome.